I am Lauren Whitaker, 27, and literally last weekend, my rep as the family dreamer? Yeah, it totally backfired. The photography career I'd poured my soul into, the one I sacrificed sleep and stability for, it blew up into a full-on family meltdown at my uncle's will reading. My cousins, aunts, and uncles, led by my smug cousin Daryl, straight up demanded I grow up and ditch art for a real job like them. When I clapped back, defending my passion, the room went dead silent. "You're an embarrassment, Lauren," Daryl spat, with everyone staring like I'd crashed a funeral. But here's the tea. Their shade didn't break me, it lit a spark. I'm not just pushing back, I'm about to flip the script and change everything. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from, hit subscribe, and stay with me for the most satisfying twist you'll ever hear. Looking back, it's almost wild what I'd do once that will was read. I sat in the stuffy conference room, the air thick with perfume and judgment. My family, all pressed suits and polished shoes, whispered about stock portfolios and summer homes. Me, I was in my usual black jeans, camera bag slung over my shoulder, feeling like a stray dog at a pedigree show. Uncle Vernon, the only one who ever got me, was gone, and this will reading was his final stage. I missed his gravely laugh, the way he'd slip me $20 and whisper, "Buy more film, kid." Now his lawyer, Mr. Hargrove, shuffled papers, his glasses sliding down his nose. Daryl leaned over, his cologne choking me. "Still chasing sunsets, Lauren? Bet you're here for a handout." His smirk made my stomach twist. My Aunt Mavis with her pearl earrings chimed in, "Vernon always babied her, such a shame." I gripped my bag tighter, nails digging into my palm. My brother Glenn sat across, avoiding my eyes. He'd gone corporate like Dad wanted, and now I was the family punchline. I wanted to scream that my photos had been in galleries, that I'd paid my rent with art while they kissed up to Uncle Vernon's wealth. But I stayed quiet, heart pounding. Hargrove cleared his throat, starting the reading. Bequests rolled out, $50,000 to Mavis, a yacht to Daryl, a condo to Glenn. Each announcement drew gasps and smug nods. Then Hargrove looked at me, his voice flat. "To Lauren Whitaker, $10. The room erupted in laughter. Daryl slapped the table. $10? Vernon's trolling you," Mavis snorted. "Maybe buy a new lens, dear." My cheeks burned, but I forced a smile, refusing to let them see me crack. Inside I was crumbling. Was this really what Uncle Vernon thought of me? Had I misread his faith all along? But something felt off. Vernon wasn't cruel. He'd frame my photos in his office, call them damn masterpieces. Why this? I scanned the room, catching Hargrove's quick glance, almost a wink. My gut twisted. There was more to this, I just didn't know it yet. The laughter from the will reading still stung, but it wasn't new. I'd been invisible to my family forever, my photography dismissed like a kid's crayon scribbles. Growing up, our house was all about report cards and revenue. Dad, a logistics exec, and Mom, his unofficial CFO, worshipped numbers. My brother Glenn aced math, landed a corner office by 25, and got standing ovations at Thanksgiving. My sister Faye, with her MBA, was their golden girl, framed degrees on the mantle. Me? I was the weirdo with a Nikon, sneaking out to shoot dawn over the lake. I remember my first exhibit at 16, a community center show. I'd spent months on those prints, portraits of strangers, raw and real. I begged Mom to come. She showed up late, glanced at my work, and said, "Cute hobby, Lauren, but focus on college." Glenn didn't even bother showing. He was at a networking dinner. Faye mailed a card, "Congrats, but don't quit your day job." I stood by my photos, forcing smiles for the handful of locals who cared, my chest tight with rejection. At 20, I got a shot, a magazine feature for my series on abandoned factories. I was thrilled, framing the issue for Dad. He skimmed it, grunted "nice pictures," and handed it back to lecture me on 401ks. Meanwhile, Faye's promotion to VP got a family toast, crystal glasses clinking. I ate my turkey in silence, their praise for her drowning out my milestone. Uncle Vernon was the exception. He'd pull me aside, eyes twinkling, and say, "Your lens sees what they can't." He hung my factory print in his study right next to his business awards. By 24, I'd built a quiet name in art circles, but family dinners were still a gauntlet. "Still freelancing?" Aunt Mavis would ask, her tone dripping pity. Daryl once joked my camera was a glorified selfie stick. I'd laugh it off, but each jab chipped away at me. I started skipping reunions, sending texts instead, claiming work. Really, I was dodging their script. "Lauren, the dreamer who'd never measure up. Back in the conference room, those memories flooded back as Daryl's $10 taunt echoed. My family's faces, smirks, rolled eyes, were the same ones I'd seen for years. I sat rigid, fingers tracing the strap of my camera bag, anchoring me. They didn't know I'd shot for national campaigns or had a solo gallery show booked. They never asked. To them, I was still the kid with a hobby, not the woman who'd clawed her way to success despite their shade. Hargrove's voice droned on, finalizing bequests. I barely listened, lost in the weight of being unseen. But Vernon's wink from earlier nagged at me. He'd always believed in my art, my heart. What was he playing at with this $10? I leaned forward, pulse quickening, sensing a thread I couldn't yet pull. My family's laughter faded to background noise. Whatever came next, I wasn't the same Lauren they'd ignored. I'd built something real, and no one, not Daryl, not Mavis, could take that away. The conference room's hum faded as I gripped my camera bag, my mind drifting to the secret I'd built in the shadows. My family saw a dreamer, but they didn't know I'd turned my passion into a quiet empire. It started 3 years ago, at 24, when I was couch surfing, barely scraping by. I'd shoot weddings for cash, but my heart was in raw human stories, faces of the overlooked, like street vendors or aging musicians. One night, editing photos in a diner, I snapped. I was done playing small. I decided to bet on myself, no matter the cost. I took every gig, headshots, ads, even dog portraits, saving every penny for my dream, a series on forgotten communities. I'd drive hours to dying towns, sleep in my car, and shoot at dawn, capturing lives no one else saw. The work was brutal. Once in a blizzard, my car broke down. I hiked 2 miles with my gear, fingers numb to get the shot. Another time, I went 3 days on instant noodles to afford a lens. But every frame felt like defiance, proof I wasn't the failure my family painted. The aha came when a small gallery took a chance on my series. I stood at the opening, sweaty in a borrowed dress, watching strangers linger over my prints. A critic called my work unflinching, soulful. That review got me noticed. Soon I was fielding calls from magazines, then brands. By 26, I'd shot campaigns for nonprofits, had a feature in a national art journal, and booked a solo show in Chicago. My name, Lauren Whitaker, was starting to mean something. I kept it hush, though. No social media boasts, no family texts. I wanted the work to speak, not my ego. The real win? A grant I'd applied for on a whim. 6 months ago, I got word, $50,000 to expand my community series, plus a partnership with a major foundation. It was validation, not just cash. My photos were changing how people saw the marginalized. I'd lie awake, buzzing, planning shoots in new cities. But I never told my family, why bother? They'd scoff, or worse, try to claim credit. Back in the will reading, Daryl's voice, mocking my $10, yanked me to the present. I sat straighter, the weight of my secret grounding me. They didn't know I'd built a career that outshone their corner offices. I glanced at Hargrove, his pen tapping softly, like he was waiting for something. My gut screamed Vernon had planned this. The $10 wasn't a slight, it was a test. I didn't know how, but I felt it. Years of hiding my wins had led to this moment. My fingers brushed my bag where I kept a tiny print from my first series, a reminder of who I was. Whatever Vernon had left for me, I was ready. I'd already proven I could build something from nothing. Let them laugh. I wasn't invisible anymore. Not to myself. The conference room felt smaller now, the air heavy with smug glances and the rustle of Hargrove's papers. I sat there, still reeling from the $10 jab, my family's laughter, a dull roar in my ears. Today was Uncle Vernon's will reading, the moment I'd been dreading for weeks. I'd almost skipped it, tempted to stay home and prep for my Chicago gallery show, but Vernon deserved better. He'd been my cheerleader, the one who'd slip me art books and say, "Keep seeing the world your way, Lauren." I owed him this, even if it meant facing the family gauntlet. I'd woken up that morning with a knot in my stomach. My tiny apartment was a mess, proof sheets scattered, coffee mugs piled up. I'd been editing photos late, finalizing pieces for the show. The grant money was in my account, and the foundation had emailed about a potential tour. My career was on the verge of exploding, but I couldn't shake the dread of this day. I pulled on my black jeans, tucked my lucky print into my camera bag and headed out, psyching myself up. "Just get through it," I muttered, dodging a cyclist on the sidewalk. The drive to the lawyer's office was a blur. I kept picturing Daryl's smirk, Mavis's pitying sighs. Glenn would probably just stare at his phone like always. I parked, checked my reflection in the rear view, bags under my eyes, but I looked steady. Inside, the receptionist waved me to the conference room. My family was already there, chattering about Vernon's estate like it was a game show. I slipped into a chair, ignoring Daryl's, "Well, look who showed up" quip. Now, as Hargrove droned through minor bequests, I felt their eyes on me. The $10 still burned, but I kept my face blank, refusing to give them the meltdown they wanted. My phone buzzed in my pocket, a text from my friend Tammy. "You got this, call me after." I exhaled, grateful for her. She and my small crew of artist friends were my real family, the ones who'd cheer at my openings. They knew what I'd built. This room? They knew nothing. Hargrove paused, adjusting his glasses. "One final matter," he said, pulling out a sealed envelope. My name was on it, in Vernon's jagged scrawl. My heart skipped. Daryl leaned forward, smirking, probably expecting another joke. Mavis whispered something to Faye, who nodded, her lips tight. I sat frozen, fingers twitching on my bag. What was this? Vernon's wink from earlier flashed in my mind. He'd always said, "Character shows under pressure, kid." Was this his move? I didn't know, but the envelope felt like a lifeline. Whatever it held, I was ready to face it. And them, head on. The conference room buzzed with whispers as Hargrove set the envelope with my name aside, promising to address it privately. My family's eyes flicked to me, then away, like I was a sideshow. Daryl leaned back, arms crossed, his smirk practically screaming, "Told you she's nothing." I kept my hands folded, nails biting into my palms, forcing myself to stay calm. The $10 bequest still hung in the air, and now the real gauntlet began, the part where they tore into me without Vernon's envelope to distract them. Mavis started, her voice syrupy with fake concern. "Lauren, dear, that $10 must sting. Maybe it's time to rethink your choices?" She tilted her head, pearl earrings glinting like she was counseling a lost puppy. I forced a tight smile, my jaw aching. "I'm good, thanks," I said, voice steady, though my pulse hammered. She raised an eyebrow, exchanging a look with Faye, who chimed in, "Photography's cute, but it's not a legacy." Vernon clearly saw that. Her words cut, but I didn't flinch, even as Glenn shifted uncomfortably, still avoiding my gaze. Daryl predictably went for blood. "Come on, Lauren. You're 27, still playing artist? That $10 more than your bank account, right?" He laughed, loud enough to draw chuckles from an uncle across the table. My cheeks burned, but I met his eyes, refusing to shrink. "Better than kissing up for yachts," I shot back. The room hushed for a split second, before Mavis gasped, clutching her pearls. "Such disrespect," she hissed. Daryl's smirk faltered, but he recovered, leaning closer. "Keep dreaming, kid. You're out of your league here." I wanted to scream about my gallery show, my grant, the lives my photos had touched, but I didn't. Not yet. Their contempt was too familiar. Every family dinner, every cute hobby jab. I glanced at Hargrove, who was watching, pen tapping softly. He knew something, and it kept me grounded. My camera bag sat heavy on my lap, the print inside a quiet reminder of what I'd built. They could mock me, but they couldn't erase my work. Faye piped up again, her tone sharp. "Vernon was generous, Lauren, but he wasn't stupid. He knew who could handle real responsibility." She gestured to herself and Glenn, who finally looked up, nodding faintly. The betrayal stung. He was my brother, but he'd chosen their side long ago. I swallowed hard, keeping my voice low. "Funny how you measure responsibility in dollars." Faye's eyes narrowed, but before she could snap back, Hargrove cleared his throat, signaling the reading's end. "Miss Whitaker, please stay," he said, nodding at me. My family froze, confusion flickering across their faces. As they filed out, Daryl tossed a final barb. "Enjoy your $10, Lauren." I didn't respond, just watched them go, their whispers trailing like smoke. Alone with Hargrove, I exhaled, my hands trembling slightly. The envelope waited on the table, Vernon's handwriting a beacon. Whatever it held, I knew one thing. I'd survived their contempt before, and I'd do it again. Hargrove's office felt eerily quiet after my family's exit, their barbs still echoing in my head. I sat rigid, staring at the envelope with my name, Vernon's jagged scrawl taunting me. Hargrove adjusted his glasses, his voice low. "Lauren, there's more to discuss." My stomach twisted, part hope, part dread. The $10 humiliation and Daryl's final jab clung to me, but I sensed a shift, like the air before a storm. I nodded, fingers brushing my camera bag for courage, and leaned forward. Hargrove cleared his throat, pulling out a document. Vernon's will included a public reading but also specific instructions. He paused, meeting my eyes. The $10 bequest was deliberate, meant to provoke. My breath caught. Provoke? Before I could ask, he continued, "Your uncle wanted to reveal your family's true character. He believed you'd handle their reaction with grace." My mind raced. Mavis's pity, Faye's smugness, Daryl's cruelty. It was a test, and they'd failed spectacularly. Then came the bombshell. Hargrove slid the document toward me. "Your family's bequests, yachts, condos, cash, were minor. Vernon's estate, valued at $340 million, including his business empire, is yours, Lauren." My heart stopped. $340 million? Me? I gripped the table, dizzy, as Hargrove went on. "There's a condition. You must continue your photography and use the wealth for philanthropic good, particularly supporting artists." I blinked, tears pricking. Vernon hadn't just believed in me, he'd bet everything on me. But the room spun with memories of the reading. Daryl's laugh, Faye's not a legacy jab, Glenn's silence. They'd mocked me, thinking I was nothing. Hargrove handed me the envelope. "Vernon left this for you." My hands shook as I opened it, unfolding a letter in his familiar scrawl. "Lauren," it began, "you see the world's soul. They don't. This empire's yours because you'll use it right. Prove me proud." I choked back a sob, his voice alive in those words. Hargrove leaned back, giving me space. "Your family doesn't know yet. Vernon wanted you to decide when, or if, they learn." I stared at the letter, my family's faces flashing, their sneers, their certainty I'd fail. They'd disowned me in that room, not with words but with every laugh and glance. I wasn't just ostracized, I was erased. Yet here was Vernon, rewriting the story, handing me power they'd never imagined. I folded the letter, tucking it into my bag next to my print. My voice was steady, though my insides churned. "They don't deserve to know." Hargrove nodded, a faint smile breaking through. "Vernon thought you'd say that." I stood, legs wobbly, the weight of $340 million sinking in. I wasn't the outcast anymore. I was the heir. But as I stepped toward the door, I knew the real test wasn't surviving their mockery. It was what I'd do next. I stepped out of Hargrove's office, the letter in my bag feeling heavier than the camera I'd lugged for years. The hallway was dim, lined with generic art, but my mind was ablaze. $340 million, Vernon's empire, all mine. My family's laughter from the reading still stung, their faces twisted in my memory. Daryl's smirk, Mavis's pearls, Faye's smug nod. They'd buried me with their words, and now I held the shovel. I leaned against the wall, catching my breath when my phone buzzed. It was Tammy, my ride or die, her text simple. "You okay? Spill." I smiled, grounding myself. She'd get the full story, but not here. I was about to reply when footsteps echoed. Daryl, swaggering back, probably to gloat. "Yo, Lauren, still crying over your $10?" he called, his grin wide. My pulse spiked, but I straightened, meeting his eyes. This was it. The moment Vernon's test came full circle. I could have spilled everything, watched his jaw drop, but I didn't. Instead, I said, "Enjoy your yacht, Daryl, hope it's worth it." His laugh faltered, confused by my calm, and I brushed past him, heart pounding but head high. Outside, the air hit me, crisp and sharp. I slid into my beat-up sedan, the letter burning a hole in my bag. I pulled it out, rereading Vernon's words. "Prove me proud." My hands trembled, not from fear, but from the weight of possibility. I wasn't just Lauren, the family joke. I was the heir, with power to reshape everything. My phone buzzed again, this time a voicemail from my gallery curator, Wayne. "Lauren, the Chicago show's sold out. Foundation's thrilled. Call me." I froze, the timing uncanny. "Sold out?" I played the message again, Wayne's voice buzzing with excitement. "Your series, it's hitting people hard. We're talking expansion, maybe a tour." I laughed, a raw, shaky sound, tears spilling. This was my work, my art, the thing my family mocked, now validated beyond my wildest dreams. Vernon's letter wasn't just a gift, it was a megaphone for what I'd already built. He'd seen it, my grit, my vision, when no one else did. I started the car, the engine's rumble steadying me. My family thought they'd crushed me, but they'd only cleared the stage. I pictured Mavis's gasp, Faye's pinched face, when they learned the truth. But that wasn't the win. The win was what I'd do with this. Fund artists, amplify voices like mine, make Vernon's legacy a force for good. I pulled onto the road, the city blurring past. Daryl's taunt faded, replaced by Wayne's voice, Vernon's faith, my own pulse. I wasn't running from their judgment anymore. I was running toward something bigger. The city lights streaked past as I drove, Vernon's letter tucked beside my camera bag, its words looping in my head. You see the world's soul. My family's faces, Daryl's sneer, Faye's smugness, Mavis's fake pity, burned, but I wasn't crumbling. I was done being their punching bag. My phone pinged again, Tammy's name lighting up the screen. Girl, where you at? Need details. I grinned, pulling into a diner lot to gather myself. I'd call her soon, but first I had to face the Vipers one last time. I'd heard from Hargrove that my family was still at the lawyer's office, lingering like buzzards over Vernon's estate. They didn't know about the $340 million or my inheritance yet, but I wasn't hiding anymore. I drove back, heart steady, resolve like steel. Walking into the lobby, I spotted them by the elevator, Daryl bragging about his yacht, with Mavis fussing with her scarf, Faye typing furiously on her phone. Glenn stood apart, eyes on the floor. They froze when they saw me, surprise morphing into smirks. Back for scraps, Lauren? Daryl drawled, arms crossed. I stepped closer, voice calm but sharp. I'm here to set things straight. Mavis raised an eyebrow, her, oh dear, dripping with condescension. Faye looked up, scoffing. What, you gonna sell your camera for gas money? I let their words hang, then smiled, a slow, deliberate curve that made Daryl shift uncomfortably. You thought $10 defined me, I said, eyes locking on each of them. But you never asked about my work, my wins, you just judged. I pulled the letter from my bag, holding it up but not opening it. Vernon saw who you really are, greedy, shallow, cruel. He tested you and you failed. Mavis gasped, hand to her chest. Faye's mouth opened but no words came. Daryl's smirk vanished, his jaw tight. I kept going, voice steady. I don't need your approval. I've built something real and Vernon knew it. I didn't mention the millions. That was mine to wield, not their bait. Glenn finally met my eyes, guilt flickering, but I didn't soften. You chose sides, I told him, then turned to the group. Keep your yachts, your condos, I'm done with your hypocrisy. I tucked the letter away, my camera bag solid against my hip, and walked past them, their silence louder than their earlier laughter. Daryl muttered something, but it lacked venom. Mavis whispered to Faye, their faces pale. I didn't look back. Outside I exhaled, the weight of years lifting. Vernon's faith, my art, the empire I'd shape, it was all mine now. I climbed into my car, the engines hum a promise. Tammy's text glowed on my phone and I typed back, meet me, got a story for you. I pulled out, the road open, my family's shadows shrinking in the rear view. I wasn't just walking away, I was stepping into my power. The diner's neon sign buzzed as I pulled into the lot, the glow cutting through the evening chill. My confrontation with my family still hummed in my veins. Daryl's stunned silence, Mavis's gasp, Faye's frozen scowl. I'd left them in the dust, but the high was fading, replaced by a raw ache for something real. I grabbed my camera bag, Vernon's letter tucked inside, and headed in to meet Tammy, my anchor in this storm. She'd texted to meet here, promising coffee and her signature spill-it-all vibe. Inside, the diner smelled of fries and burnt coffee. Tammy sat in a corner booth, her wild curls spilling over a denim jacket, waving me over with a grin. Next to her was Wayne, my gallery curator, his glasses fogged from the steam of his mug. They were my people, chosen, not blood, here to celebrate me, not tear me down. I slid into the booth, exhaling for what felt like the first time all day. You look like you fought a war, Tammy said, pushing a coffee toward me. I laughed, shaky but real. Feels like it. I spilled the story, the $10 humiliation, Vernon's letter, the $340 million bombshell. Tammy's eyes widened, her spoon clattering. Shut up, millions. Wayne leaned in, grinning. Knew Vernon was a legend, but this damn Lauren. Their awe wasn't greedy like my family's would have been. It was pure, proud. Tammy grabbed my hand. You're gonna change the game with this. Artists like us, we need you. We talked for hours, plates of greasy fries piling up. Wayne sketched ideas on a napkin, artist grants, community studios, while Tammy threw in wild plans like a mobile gallery for rural towns. Their belief in me mirrored Vernon's, and it hit hard. My family's dinner table was a battlefield, all posturing and power plays. Here, with Tammy's laugh and Wayne's quiet nods, I felt seen. I pulled out my lucky print, the one from my first series, and passed it to them. This is why I keep going, I said. Tammy traced the photo's edge, her voice soft. You've always seen the real stuff, Lauren, Vernon knew. As we talked, I contrasted this warmth with my family's coldness. Daryl's yacht obsession, Faye's corporate flexing. They'd never share a booth like this. Never dream beyond their own egos. I didn't need their approval anymore. Tammy and Wayne were my legacy's foundation, not Glenn's silence or Mavis's pearls. I sipped my coffee, the mug's heat grounding me. Vernon's millions weren't just money, they were a megaphone for my art, for voices like Tammy's, for kids like I was. I leaned back, smiling. This was the start of something bigger than my family's small, bitter world. The diner's warmth lingered as I drove home, Tammy's laugh and Wayne's napkin sketches replaying in my mind. Vernon's letter, still in my camera bag, felt like a promise I was just starting to grasp. My family's stunned faces from the lawyer's office, Daryl's faltering smirk, Faye's pinched lips, were fading, but I knew they'd come crawling once the truth about the $340 million leaked. I wasn't naive. Their greed would resurface. Tonight, I needed to draw lines in the sand, set rules to protect my peace and this new path Vernon had handed me. In my apartment, I dropped my bag on the couch, the familiar clutter of proof sheets and lenses grounding me. My phone buzzed. Glenn, of all people, texting. "Can we talk?" Didn't know it'd go like that. I stared at the screen, my thumb hovering. His silence at the will reading had cut deep, siding with Faye and Daryl's mockery. Now he wanted absolution? I set the phone down, ignoring it. Blood didn't mean loyalty. I'd learned that the hard way. I grabbed a notebook, pacing as I jotted down boundaries. First, no contact with my family unless I initiated it. Mavis's fake tears, Daryl's taunts, they'd get no more of my energy. Second, the estate was mine to steer, no input from them. Vernon's condition, supporting artists, doing good, was my guide, not their opinions. I pictured Faye trying to advise me on business, her MBA ego in overdrive. Nope. Done. I called Hargrove, catching him before he left the office. "How do we keep this quiet?" I asked, voice firm. He paused, then said, "We can delay public filings, but word will spread eventually. I'll draft non-disclosure agreements for anyone involved." I nodded, grateful for his steady hand. "And if they reach out," I added. "Refer them to me," he said. "You focus on what's next." Hanging up, I felt lighter, like I'd built a fortress around my future. Sitting on my floor, I pulled out Vernon's letter again, his words, "Prove me proud," a quiet command. I wasn't just shielding myself, I was carving space to honor his trust. My family had disowned me long before the will, with every cute hobby jab. Now, I was disowning their toxicity. I texted Tammy and Wayne, setting up artist grants. "You in?" Their replies lit up my phone, Tammy's hell yes, and Wayne's let's do this. They were my allies, not Glenn's weak apologies. I stood, glancing at my camera. Tomorrow I'd meet with the foundation about my gallery show, start planning how to channel Vernon's wealth into art that mattered. My family's world, yachts, condos, power plays, wasn't mine. I'd build something better, brick by brick, without their shadows. For the first time I felt the weight of the empire not as a burden, but as a tool. My rules, my terms, my legacy. Morning light filtered through my apartment's cracked blinds, glinting off the camera lenses scattered on my table. Vernon's letter lay open beside my coffee mug, its words now a mantra. You'll use it right. My family's betrayal, Daryl's sneers, Faye's jabs, Glenn's silence, felt distant, like a storm that had passed. I'd set my boundaries last night, and today was about action, about taking Vernon's empire and making it mine. I was meeting Wayne and the foundation rep Brenda to plan how my wealth could uplift artists, starting with my Chicago gallery show. This wasn't just about me anymore. It was about rewriting what legacy meant. I grabbed my notebook, where I'd scribbled ideas, grants for young photographers, free studio spaces, mentorships for kids like I'd been, dreamers dismissed by their families. Vernon's $340 million could fund a movement, not just a moment. I tucked my lucky print into my bag, its worn edges a reminder of my roots, and headed to the gallery. The city buzzed outside, but I felt focused, like I was finally holding the reins. At the gallery, Wayne greeted me with a bear hug, his glasses slipping. "Sold out show, Lauren. You're a star." Brenda, a sharp woman in a blazer, shook my hand, her smile warm. "Your series is powerful. Let's talk impact." We sat among my framed prints, faces of forgotten people lit with dignity. I laid out my vision, a foundation in Vernon's name, supporting artists who'd been overlooked. "I want to give them what he gave me," I said, tapping the letter in my bag. "Faith." Brenda nodded, scribbling notes. "We can start with grants tied to your show, maybe a national tour." Wayne chimed in. Community workshops too. Get kids shooting. Their excitement fueled mine. This was real. My art, Vernon's trust, merging into something bigger. I pictured my family's faces if they saw this. They'd called my work worthless, but here it was, sparking change. I wasn't erasing their name, I was redefining it, making Whitaker mean compassion, not greed. As we wrapped up, Wayne pulled me aside. Vernon be grinning ear to ear? I smiled, throat tight. Hope so. Driving home, I felt the shift. My family's legacy had been boardrooms and bank accounts. Mine would be artists thriving, kids with cameras, stories told. I wasn't proving them wrong anymore. I was proving Vernon right. My phone stayed quiet, no texts from Glenn or Faye. Good, they were out of my orbit. I parked, glancing at my bag where the letter and print sat. This was my name now, my empire, built on my terms. The city hummed outside my apartment as I sat on the floor, my camera bag open, proof sheets spread like a map of my life. Vernon's letter rested beside me, its edges soft from rereading. A week had passed since the gallery meeting, and my plans were taking shape. Grants funded, workshops booked, a foundation in Vernon's name ready to launch. My family's silence was deafening, no calls or texts, not even from Glenn. Their absence didn't hurt anymore. It felt like freedom. I traced the letter's words, "You see the world's soul," and realized I'd been chasing their approval for years, when my worth was already mine. I picked up my lucky print, the one from my first series, a street vendor's weathered hands cradling a coffee cup. That photo had been my rebellion, proof I could capture truth despite their cute hobby jabs. Back then, I doubted myself, their voices loud in my head. Now I saw clearly, Vernon's faith, my work, Tammy and Wayne's cheers, they'd always been enough. I didn't need Mavis's pearls or Daryl's yacht to measure my value. I'd built a legacy, not just with Vernon's millions, but with every frame I'd shot, every story I'd told. I stood, crossing to my window, the city sprawling below. My Chicago show was days away, sold out with critics buzzing. The foundation's first grants would drop soon, giving kids cameras, giving dreamers a shot. I pictured Vernon's gravelly laugh, his keep seeing kid. He'd known I'd find my way, not through revenge but through purpose. My family's betrayal had been a gift, stripping away their hold, leaving me raw but whole. I was Lauren Whitaker, not their outcast but my own anchor. Leaning against the glass, I felt peace settle, quiet and sure. My worth wasn't in their applause or Vernon's empire. It was in me, always had been. I smiled, ready for the show, the grants, the life I'd build. The world was wide and I was finally home. Have you ever felt like you had to prove your worth to people who didn't see you? I'm Lauren, and I've been there, fighting to be heard over family who thought my art was a joke. But here's what I learned. Your value isn't in their eyes. It's in the truth you build, the lives you touch. I'm using Vernon's gift to lift up artists, to give dreamers a chance, and it's the most real thing I've ever done. I want to hear your stories. Drop them in the comments. What's the moment you knew you were enough? If my journey resonated, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear it's okay to define success on their own terms. Keep chasing your truth, because that's where peace lives.